Hello, hello, hello out there. Well, I've got everything set up here today. We are going to be working on a watercolor painting. Let me get everything set up, you guys. I'm so excited to be on our second date of art tutorial week. Um, every day this week, we will be doing different art mediums. Some that might be familiar to you, some that you maybe have never seen before. So we have some new stuff coming out. And today I'm basically going to be working on watercolor. Now I'm going to show you a couple different techniques. Let me get all the equipment here going. Oh, not this one. No. All right, hold on. I think I clicked the wrong. I have too many remote controls up here today. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, so we are doing tutorial week. We are doing watercolor. We're doing so many different mediums, like I was saying before. Even alcohol ink, which I'm excited to do. Actually, the piece that I'll be working on this week during the alcohol ink tutorial will actually be a commission piece. So I'm happy to do that live for you guys, but also to do that live for my client too, so she can see. This will be her third, I think the third commission of alcohol ink on glass. Now I don't normally do a lot of that, but maybe I should. It's just so tricky to take glass to events. So, yeah, so you guys are going to see it, and maybe you might like doing it too. So, who knows? But on the desk here today, the tabletop, we're going to go ahead and go to the tabletop. And one, two, three. All right, it works. And this is the tabletop. Let's make sure the camera can focus in on the actual table. And I'm just going to show you guys some of the supplies. Now, I have listed the supplies in the description of the video here. If you happen to have seen the list ahead of time and you have supplies and you're going to work with me today, that's great. Um, so basically, we have watercolor paper. Now, I also cut watercolor paper up into small pieces too to make bookmarks. But these are, it's a standard watercolor papers, nothing fancy about it. I use it mostly, this paper, to do projects with the kids as well. You can use paper plates. Most paper plates have like a plastic coating on them. If you don't have paper plates, you can use a regular plate, or even these are plastic. So we're going to use, for the sake of paper plate, we'll use paper plate. And you need paper towels. I use 3 little cups of water, and this is up to you. I like to have a pure, clean cup of water, a a cup to completely clean out all my brushes, and then another cup to like make sure all the paint's gone. So that's just my way of doing it. I do have an assortment of small brushes. In fact, these are the same brushes here that we used yesterday. Um, I also included masking tape. You should actually tape your project down on a surface that's not porous. You want it to be like a plastic. Sometimes I tape it down when I'm on the go and I'm doing watercolor. I have a clipboard that is plastic, and I use that. This table desk mat that I use is actually from IKEA, and it's really, really great. I'm really enjoying it. It was super, super reasonable price, and I wish I had another one. We're also, some people like to use these little white trays. Um, and I'm not going to use those because not everybody has these, but you can actually purchase these at Dollar Tree. I think they're like six in a pack for $1.25 or $1.50, or, they keep raising the prices. So I'm not sure. So we have those. And then the watercolor set. Now, this watercolor set is pretty good. I've been using this one for a little while now, and as you can see, it's used. Um, it comes with a little sample thing. We're going to just put this all to the side. And these are the colors that are in there, which sometimes it's helpful to have that. And these are all the colors. This includes metallics, which are down here. And you can see that they're kind of shiny. I like to use that in the water when I do my beachscapes, just to give it a little glistening on the waves and in the water. So having the little metallics is really, really nice. This watercolor set is on Amazon, and I believe it's like $25. It's not very expensive. Sometimes you can get it on sale. It does come with like a water-based ink pen, a small brush, and a water brush. And I will be using the water brush quite a bit, but I need to add some water to it. Um, it's basically, take the top off. I have another set of these somewhere, but this is, as you can see, it's just got water in a reservoir here. And when you paint with it, the water comes out. So it's really great for activating the watercolor. So I am going to add some water to this because I didn't realize it was that low. And it's pretty simple. You just open it up and just drop in some water. And I don't know if I can do this without spilling it everywhere. Let me try it over here. Maybe I should put a little bowl underneath so I don't make a mess. Let's try to do this without making a mess. Yeah, it's a good thing I put the bowl there. And this water will actually, in this little reservoir, will will last quite a bit of time. Um, so I just realized, did I even turn the microphone on? That is my biggest thing I forget to do. As you guys, if you've been following along my channel, you would know. Okay, so it's got some water in it. So we have this one to use. I always put the lid back on it. I'm going to place it there. And now there's another product out that you can use. These come from Michael's. You can get these at most craft stores. These are watercolor pencils. And I have to say that I have been really loving these lately. And I'm going to show you guys a couple pieces in watercolor that I've done. This is done with the pencils. So this was done in St. Petersburg, Florida, while we were camping last fall. And that is watercolor pencils. So it's these exact pencils will give you this effect with the water pen. I did them all with this. And it's great for on the go because all watercolor is a really easy medium to work with on the go. Now, also, so that's one of them. Now, this piece here is also watercolor pencil done with these specific pencils. And this is actually on a tiny door wood slat. So it's pretty cool. I wasn't 100% happy with that look, but then this also is watercolor pencil on wood. So yeah, it's just a matter of working with the pencils, and maybe we will use them. Maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll do some line work on there with those. Now, regular with the paints that are here, These were all done literally plein air on the beach. This is in St. Petersburg. This one here on the beach, St. Petersburg, Florida, by the way. And so this is one that was done on the beach. And then these were done in St. Augustine. No, sorry, scratch that. Sarasota. And so these are all on there. Now I'm going to show you, and maybe we can get the light to catch it. You might be able to see, focus. See those little silvery, darker areas? But when you turn it here, you don't see that. That's the metallic. Oh, there it goes. And it's really cool because you can put those little metallics on the tops of your waves. This one here, I put a little pelican in. And so these were all three of these were done plein air on the west coast of Florida. And that's why the water is this color, because the water is that color on the west coast of Florida. So those are some samples that I've made before with watercolor. I have other ones as well, but that's what I have here at the desk. And what I sometimes like to do is I like to make watercolor paintings, especially the beachscapes, and I cut them into strips after I make the entire painting, and I turn them into bookmarks. So it's a lot of fun. So today we are going to do a couple different techniques. We're going to do wet on wet. We're going to do wet on dry. And we're also going to use the magic crayon. Um, a crayon is really handy to keep places in your piece white. Now you can use, and I don't think might, I might have it here. I'm not sure if it's in there here or not. But you could use masking fluid um, on for watercolor as well. So in today's case, I am going to use the crayon. And what I'm going to do with the crayon is I'm going to just go into the bottom down here, and I'm just going to put a lot of little tiny dashes. You're not going to be able to see that on the screen because it's going to be super tiny, and you won't be able to see it. Now, if you are in person and you're working on it, if you look to the side, you can see where the little dashes are. And I'm just going to place them all down where the water is. Now, what will happen is those little dashes in crayon will become the waves of the water. So have them all on there. Now I'm gonna do, instead of doing the white crayon for the clouds, which I have done in the past, we're actually gonna do more of a wet on dry technique for the top in the sky. And then we'll do the wet on wet technique in the bottom half. And basically that is what it says. So a wet on dry is wet watercolor on dry paper, and a wet on wet would be wet watercolor on wet paper. So there's a couple different things there. Now we are going to go ahead and get started here, and we're going to take, and I'm going to use the water brush. I might use the water brush for a lot of this, except for at the very bottom. I will, I can feel where the crayon is. I will do a larger brush, this brush here, that I use to basically put water down. Like, that's all I use it for, is to saturate the paper for the wet on wet technique. So we might not be using the standard brushes, and I'm going to put those to the side for now. And I'll put this big brush to the side. Okay, now if the camera focuses in and out, I am so sorry. It's kind of doing a mind of its own. What I will do is also put a piece of tape where I want my horizon line to be. And basically, this is going to be, I gotta find where my pencil marks are, make sure I put them in the right spot. I'm not gonna do the actual beat on here. It's gonna be just the water and the sky. So I think that's pretty even. Aha! I actually have a tape measure here. 6.5 centimeters by 6.5 centimeters. Wow. I love it when I can do that and it's and it goes across there perfectly straight. Oh, did you see my shirt? It's a good day to make some art. So, so I'm just gonna lightly press that across there, and we're gonna work in this top section for the sky. Now, let's get into this. Now, with this watercolor palette, let me slide some stuff around here. This is what's nice about this IKEA mat. I can put everything on here and slide it into frame for you guys. Yay. So what's nice is that it has these color chambers and actually still has the paint from the last time I used this. And you can add water to these chambers by squeezing your pen or paint water brush. And in the sky, we're going to go ahead and just do a blue. Let's see, can I get that back in there a little bit better? Let's move this around just a touch. All right, so we've got this blue. I always like to drop the water in. Now, if you have what they call a pipette, a little pipe of water, you could use that to activate your watercolor. And I always like to test it to see what color it's going to be when you put it down. So I have the plate here not only to mix paints, but to also test the color. And if you're using the paper plate, you can squeeze some water on there like this and grab some paint and place it here. Or if you have this container, you can place them in those little chambers up at the top. So with this, I'm going to block in the areas where I want the clouds to be. And we're just going to put some happy little clouds in here. And I'm not going to use a lot of color because I just want to lightly put in where these clouds are going to be in the painting. And then I'll know not to paint in those little sections. So it's kind of like you're tracing the image of your clouds, outlining them and giving them a little bit of structure so you know where they're going to be, what shape they're going to be in. And I like to make little slices of clouds. I think it has a really nice effect with watercolor. Um, so uh, you may or may not be able to see that. Sorry. It is there. I promise. I promise it's on there. You can barely see it. Um, but like I said, this is just me tracing out. I'll make it a little darker where these clouds are gonna come into play. I'll make them a little bit darker. And what I suggest is to always start out lighter with your colors when you're putting them down. So what that will help you keep your your colors in the values that you want, in the saturation that you want. Um, so obviously you don't want the clouds in the middle to be blue, but just the edges. So that's just gonna show us where they're gonna be. Now, sometimes the clouds have that hint of the sky, and you can add that in later on. So, all right. So I basically have some shapes of clouds here. We'll do one more. We're gonna make it a little bit of a cloudy scene here. And you can put them where they come off the edge of the paper too. So, so now you can see that a little bit better. Okay, great. Now the horizon line is going to be here. So I'm going to start with the horizon line a little bit darker. And I'm just going to activate my pen, give it a little bit more water. I'm just going to run this straight across the bottom, or well, in this case, the top of the tape. I just want a little bit color going here. Normally, when I'm painting for painting's sake and not doing tutorials or something, I have music on. It's very quiet in here. I really like to have music on when I'm painting, but it's okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more water, squeezing the little chamber here, this little area, and I'm just going to go in and squeeze it and pull that paint up towards the clouds and just move it around. And once again, this is wet on dry. So I'm squeezing the water out, and then I can just move the color and grab it at the bottom and actually work it up and down. It's almost like you're reactivating it a little bit, get you just a faint line of color, and then bring it up. So hopefully you guys can see that. I'm going to get some more color, dab some off. And as I paint, I'm squeezing this little piece right here and squeezing the water out. You just squeeze it a little and bring it across and work it up. And I think that out of all the mediums that I use, I think that watercolor is the most relaxing of all the ones that I do. But let's just say that watercolor is not very forgiving. So once it's there, it is there. So always keep that in mind. Because like with acrylic paint, you can just let it dry and then paint over it. Watercolor is a different story. That's why I always start with a lighter tones of the color and then saturate them a little bit more in layers. And that's the way I do it. I think several other artists do it that way as well. So basically, I'm working from the horizon line up at this point. It's going to be a very light sky, just like in um, this piece here. Super light. It's just very faint hints of clouds. This one has a little bit more cloud work, and this one has even more cloud work with the darker. So the way you, whatever way you want to make it look, is up to you. I'm going to make some of it a little darker in areas. Maybe there's a little storm coming in under this cloud here. And the sky would be darker underneath the storm cloud. So off in the distance, this one here is going to be a rainmaker. And I'm not doing this by reference of anything. This is just coming out of my head today. No reference pieces to work with. And sometimes I do when we go to the beach, which we live pretty close to the beach, but I don't go too often. I think Freddie actually he just left to go to the beach. Well, I know he just went to the beach, but he rode his bike there today. And we take a lot of reference photos when we're at the beach. So watercolor painting can take quite a bit of time. I did not bring a dryer over here. Sometimes I bring out a hair dryer or a heat gun to dry it, but we're not going to do that today because basically I forgot it. It's over there on the shelf. So that's all right. All right, so we're just going to continue this here. And this is live, guys, or I'm filming this live, so I can't speed it up. So you're getting regular speed. So um, now if you wanted to change up the color here at this point, you could clean out your brush and then grab another blue that's in this tray. I'll show you the difference in color. So this is the one we've been using. And this one's a little bit bluer. Can you see that? This one's more on the light turquoisey kind of blue. And this is a lot bluer. But you could mix them. I wonder if it actually has the name. This is cyan, and they say this one's light blue, and I think it's dark blue. So the colors that are on there. It looks bluer than the other. I'm just going to take some of that darker blue slash other blue and place it here, down in here. Now, you don't want your paper to get too wet because then it might start tearing up. Because it is paper, and paper's made from the pulp of trees mostly, and other things as well. But when you wet them, because that's the way they're made, when you wet them, they will start coming apart. I'm going to put some vertical lines in here just to show that there's some rain coming down in this from this cloud way in the distance there. Squeeze some water out and drop that paint in. So you're painting all the negative space. And if you overlap colors, if you give it a little spin on the edge of the color, it'll soften it up a little and then brush it out. Now, when you do the wet on wet technique, which we're going to do on the bottom here soon, it's a lot faster process, but also a little tricky because it'll be super wet and you may not want it that wet because drying and doing other colors can be a little tricky on wet technique. But could be also really fun because you can get some really cool effects with colors coming in and changing and blending together, little ombre looks. I have a lot of paint here on my paper plate. I'm just grabbing that paint, mixing the two every once in a while, and putting it in. And don't forget, like the sky is very organic, right? So it can be just whatever. If you decide that, oh, wait, that cloud shouldn't be there, then it shouldn't be there and just paint over it. So here's where we drew our little lines. And I take and just reactivate it a little bit and go across the edges there. I think I'm going to put the blue into here. And you can decide maybe you want an extra cloud somewhere. You just move the paint around to make it, the negative space, the sky portion, and then voila, voila, you have a cloud. And I tend to work horizontal when I paint. Um, the skies and stuff too, so I can give those little streaky clouds. I think I'll do a painting with some big thunderstorm clouds one day. Um, so, I mean, this one's pretty dark and in the background it's raining, but just run along these cloud lines. I'm gonna grab some of this sienna. So use your paper plate to dab it off or to make a little paint puddle to thin it out because you don't want necessarily the straight color going on. It might be too dark. And really, I've really only used a little bit of water. You can probably see that little bead. Very little water already on this piece. It doesn't take a lot. This really big cloud going across here. And clouds, depending on where the sunlight is, um, will glow differently. I tend to make my clouds darker on the bottoms and then lighter on the tops. So now that I kind of have all these clouds built in here, this is where I will change the value up of those clouds and just lightly go in with a little bit of a darker value on the bottoms. Let's say it's just going to make the clouds pop out a little bit more. Now, if you were doing a sunset, you obviously would be using a lot different colors in here. But this is just going to be a blue sky with some clouds. Today, it looked like there was not a cloud in the sky outside when I was having my coffee this morning. Oh, speaking of, I need to drink my drink that I have here. I always forget to drink. So if you can see, when you add that color on the bottom and just darken it, just really makes the clouds come out a lot more. Now, when I teach the kids watercolor, we use a different kind of watercolor. We don't use this kind. We use more kid-friendly watercolors. There's nothing wrong with those, but these are more on a professional level watercolor. You can also get liquid watercolor. They come in little tubes, just like some paints do. And those are really nice watercolors because they have a lot of saturation for color in them. So every time I go to grab some color out of the color palette, I do a little squeeze of water, and I tend to work on the left side of the color. I don't know why, it just works better for me, I guess. So every time I go and get that color, I am dropping a little bit of water in there. I'm just adding those darker values underneath all the clouds. And every time you add another layer of the blue, it will just keep getting darker. Clean that out. Every time you clean out your brush as well, be sure to wipe it off on the paper towel. That way you know it's clean. See how much paint is still in there? Take it in there, give it a good swim, and use the second cup to do that. And then now You can see how much paint is still there. I'll give it a good swim. And, yeah. I tend to use a lot of paper towels when I do watercolor because I really want to make sure that it's nice and clean. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the cyan, what I think is light blue, lighter blue, and I'm going to grab some of that now and just test it on the paper, on the wall thing, drop some out. It's very saturated. And then I'm going to add this color in, just in some spots around the bottom of the clouds. I leave the top of the clouds as white as possible. All right. I'm going to say our clouds are pretty done. Now, there is white watercolor in this kit. And I don't know if it's that great or not. I'm just putting in some rain coming down from this cloud. Way in the distance. Maybe there's a little rain coming from this one too. It's the only time I do vertical when I'm doing a beach landscape is when I drop some rain into there. Um, and give it a good clean out. And clean it off. What I'm going to do is we will take one of these, not that one. I'm going to take this flat brush here. I'm going to dip it in the pure clean water. That's why I have three. So this is the dirty, this is a little bit, this is number one cleaning, number two cleaning, and this is pure water. I never touch this only when I'm going to use pure water. Um, I'm going to go in the white and grab some of it on this flat brush. And then I'm going to just touch the tops of the clouds. Just going to soften them a little bit.
For your calendar,
Eh,
live on Instagram 2 p.m. Starts in 30 minutes.
yeah, I'm supposed to be on Instagram live every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. I might not make it. This is where a pipette would be really good, but I don't have one here. Maybe. Maybe I can just squirt it with a little water. I have this little squirt bottle with water in case I ever need some of that. Just going in and doing a little bit on some of the tops. And it really doesn't make that big of a difference. But sometimes it's kind of nice to have it. It will soften the edges, especially where it's dry. Like all this right here is already dry in the middle. And just soften up some of that. And you can do this after it's completely dry. If you see some areas where it's just too saturated, you can add the white over it. it's really not something to use as far as major painting. Um, so, almost dropped it on me. Clean it out and clean out one, clean out two, and then on the paper towel, which is off camera, sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna say the sky is finished for now, and we're gonna go down here to the bottom. Now remember that we put all those little lines of crayon. And I'm also going to pull the tape. I like to fold the tape over and pull it slowly and hoping not to tear the paper, which it's tearing a little bit. We're going to take it from the other side. Sometimes that happens. So there we go. Take the tape off. And then we have this nice crisp line here. When what we're going to do on the bottom is completely a little bit of wet on wet, but I will be adding some paint on it first. I'm in debate. I really like the water to be green, but we're just going to work with it. So I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to drop. Oh gosh, do I want to do that? Okay, let's go ahead and just give it some nice clean water. Now remember, this this one here, this water cup is just pure clean water. I'm gonna start at the bottom. Normally in paintings, I start at the top, and I'm just gonna wet the paper across here. And we're going to go in. I'm not gonna do all of it yet. Reshape your brush. Don't forget to reshape your brush. We are gonna go in. Get that back up there to the cyan. I'm going to drop some water from my water brush in there. And I'm going to put a pretty good amount of this on the paper plate, squeezing the water brush as I do it. And what's going to happen is we're just going to start placing this blue in here by squeezing the water brush and just working it back and forth. Starting light first, and then we'll go darker. Pick some color up. Now, all those little white crayon marks will stay white. It is basically going to resist the water because it is a wax crayon, and they will be white. Now, one thing about wet on wet is that it gets these little bumps in it from the water. I have yet to master it to not do this. Some people like to wet their paper first and then stretch it, but I don't tend to do that. There's a little brush hair there. So this is the way I do it. Let me grab some more water. I'm going to put it into the middle here. I'm trying to stay away from the horizon line because if this water touches it, the horizon line is just going to bleed right into the ocean, which could be a cool effect, but I don't really want that effect right now. So I'm going to grab some more this cyan, put it here. If you are tuning in live, thanks so much. This is tutorial week where I am doing art every single day this week, and I'm doing it right here on YouTube Live. I got just barely to where that horizon line is. I don't want to touch it. And now I have a very light coat of paint on here, as you may or may not be able to see. It is super light, and I'm kind of just going horizontal across. And then once again, to get more saturation, you're going to add the color on. So start out light and then go darker. Now this is pretty wet. It's kind of a cool effect. If you run your finger across it, the colors, you can see them a little bit more. You can take a paper towel if it's too wet. You can blot it, but be careful because it might leave the indentation of the pattern of the paper towel. You might not want that. Um, this is where having a heat gun or a hair dryer comes into good play. But we're just going to go in and start adding in some darker layers of color. Just going to grab it, blot it off on the plate, and just start overlaying it. It's going to be a super blue painting. Be sure to go all the way off the edge. The masking tape should keep a nice clean edge for you. I won't say it's always like that, but it tends to do it. And I'm just adding in more color towards the back or the horizon line. And then I'll make it lighter coming forward. Now, when I'm finished with my paintings and they have these little ripples from the paper being wet, I place them after they're dry, place them in a book. Usually, I have this giant atlas book that I keep them in. Or you can actually iron it with an iron. So as I go darker, you'll start seeing the places where I put the crayon, and the paint will not stick there. So that's the fun part. It's like magic. You can also, if you did a wet on dry technique, go in and almost dry brush across, um, and it will give you the appearance of little waves in there as well. As I'm doing this, I squeeze the pen or the paintbrush or the water brush, whatever you want to call it, and it releases more water. So when I do the thumbnail for the video, I will have the finished piece on there. Um, if you wanted to take a look at the finished piece from yesterday's video, which we made a little tiny door, I went in and did a little bit more accents. So this is from yesterday. So I put some little dots in and I colored in the cat a little bit with his eyes. That was yesterday. You can watch that video here on YouTube. So I'm just going in and adding more and more color. Now, this horizon line, I don't want it to be too blue, but I want to just barely go up to it. And if you leave a little tiny white line, very little, just barely white line, it gives it a little glow in the distance. Now, yeah, it's raining way back there, but I like to keep a little line across there. Just barely. Great. Pretty cool, huh? I'm going to clean out this water brush. Cleaning station 1, cleaning station 2. Dab it off, reshape it. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the flat brush. I'm going to put it in the clean water just to wake the brush up. I'm going to grab some of that cyan color. And I still have it wet on here as well. But since this is a flat brush, I can go in and just put in little lines. You might want to touch up with your finger. It's still pretty wet. But some areas where you want to start darkening it up a little bit, just go in and do little marks here and there. And because it's still wet, the water will move around. But I do like to use a flat brush with this. Now, if you wanted to use a teeny tiny brush, like a little liner brush, you can use that as well. So this is just going to get in there and make some darker areas of the deep blue sea. Like I said, I just like to go in and start light and then add more color as you go through. And I always do them in horizontal marks when I'm doing beachscapes. I might be going to set up at an event this Friday. I have not decided if I'm doing that again or not, but I might. Um, if I get a chance, I'll actually go and install some tiny doors there. The weather's pretty nice, so I might go do that later this afternoon. It's not much of a difference in color, right? So in this case, let's go ahead and add, which color is this? We're going to add this light turquoise, which is right here. And drop some water in there. And we're gonna bring the tropics into this blue water now. You can see the color difference here. Might take the water pen and just drop some water drops in there. I'm going to use the flat brush for this too. So you can see some more turquoise. And now I'm going to start adding some turquoise marks in here. And I'm just going side to side with it. Grabbing some paint out of the chamber, put it on the paper plate. And then just touching here and there. The paper is still wet, but it's not dripping wet. So it gives the paint a little bit of a spread out. I guess you could say it that way. Spreads out a little bit. I'm just going to go in and add this turquoise. Can y'all see it down there? Might have these paintings available at that event this week. If I do set up, I won't be bringing a huge setup. Um, I mean, I guess I could. Basically, this turquoise is just going to give you that tropical look in the water. And by doing it horizontal like this, you can really define the waves. Even though we have some areas where it's like right here, that's where the crayon is. If you leave the lighter areas lighter, it will also give the illusion of a wave there as well. And the water will be darker the farther away it is from you, as far as the turquoise doesn't show up all the way out at the horizon line. So I'm just putting some turquoise and then we'll go back to a darker color back there. And sometimes the water, I mean, here we do get turquoise blue water, um, but not always. I mean, when we have storms, the water is just murky. I don't like to go in the water when it's murky. We have sharks here. Sharks and barracudas and all that right there. It's like swimming in an aquarium sometimes. Now, when I'm finished with my watercolors and if these chambers still have water in them, I just keep them open and it will just dry naturally. And you want to make sure you're not doing zigzags and you're just doing little flicks of paint. Okay, that's all the turquoise. I might do a tiny touch of it right here. Okay, we're gonna clean out the brush. The dirtiest water first, the next water next. That should clean it all out. Test it on the paper towel, reshape it, and let's go to another brush. We're going to go back to the big water brush. So to, I'm going to take, I'm very tempted to use this really dark blue back there, but I think I'm not going to do that. Um, I think I'm going to try, this is actually blue, this one right here. This is a cobalt blue. We're going to put some water in there. We're going to pull it out and see what it looks like on the paper plate. So this is a darker value of blue. Let's see this here. Darker shade. It's quite dark. Just going to squeeze my pen and get some water to flow here. And I'm going to take, gotta be brave, and I'm going to put some of this darker value back in the back here. Just barely going over. Hello, Onyx. The cat's here. And this is just going to give us a little bit of a darker value. You hear my cat? He's been crying all day. He wants to go OUT. I do not dare say the word. Like, he might actually spell. He keeps wanting to go out. Um, Comes to tell me every once in a while that, hey, I still want to go. But he's an indoor cat, so we don't let him out. So I'm using this darker blue because back here on this horizon line, I want it to be darker. The turquoise will still stay. If you go over it, just makes it a little bit of a darker turquoise. I'm just putting in this darker blue back there. It doesn't take a lot of paint to do really beautiful watercolors, so you really get a good bang for your buck with watercolor, I think. Just making it with a white edge. Who knows? I might turn this one into bookmarks. This is like a sandbar here, so we're going to change the color in here a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and clean out all that dark color out of my brush. And I'm going to go back to that cyan blue. I'm going to grab it, drop it here. This is where we have the cyan. So I tend to, my plate actually will look like a piece of art after a while. I always try to drop the same color in the same spots. So I'm just going to go over lightly in this middle section just to tone down some of the white of the paper. Just lightly. Looks like a giant sandbar out there. Like I said, I go really light first and then I darken it up. And it's going to be way darker at the horizon line than it will be in the front or on closer to the beach. We're going to pretend we're just sitting out here and we're not looking at the sand. We're looking beyond the sand of the beach. I mean, technically, it should be a lot choppier, but that would be way back there in the distance. So, um, it's not quite there yet. Storm clouds in this painting. Here he comes. He's back. What happened? What's the matter, Onyx? Aw, like I can understand him. He thinks you can understand him. Just adding that color and a lot more of the white spaces I did leave open. These paper plates are kind of cool because they have these little ridges. And what happens is that when you squeeze the water here, it pools in there. It's almost just enough paint to pull it out and place it. So I tend to buy these plates specifically because of those edges. I'm squeezing my brush quite a bit right now. Just blending it in a little in some places. And I'm almost going to call this one done. Yeah, I keep looking up on the screen here to see what it looks like for you guys. Clean out my brush. Now, um, I tend to always teach watercolor to the kiddos at least once in a semester, and also during summer classes. Exciting because in the summer classes, I have bought all the kids these pens so they get to take them home with them. So I'm excited for them to do that. Now, the metallics. This is where the fun happens for me. Is I am going to use silver metallic. I'm going to squeeze some water droplets from my pen, my brush, my water brush. And here it's not going to take a lot. And I like to use the silver. This cat is going crazy. Can y'all hear him? He just wants to go outside. So this silver, you might not be able to see it, but it's going to look gray. But when it dries, it's shiny. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to, all these little white spots, I'm going to barely touch some of this silver over it. And what's going to happen is it's going to be a little shiny. And I just think it looks so cool. If you get too much, blot it off on your finger. I think that it's so nice to have this little glimmer in there. Now, I mentioned about the watercolor pencils. We're going to use them in just a second. I'm just putting the silver in the water. Not going too far in the back in the distance on it, because you wouldn't see that way back there. And you can barely see it when you put it on, but when it dries, it's so cool. Or at least I love it. Just makes the water sparkle. Okay. Take a look in here. Clean off my brush. Clean it off really good because the metallic, it's like mica powder and it will stay on your brush. So you want to clean them out really good. Okay. Now, the watercolor pencils. This may or may not just ruin the whole thing. It shouldn't ruin it. But I'm going to take, probably should have sharpened these, but it's okay. I'm just going to take out the one color that I want is very not sharp. We'll use this dark blue. And I'm going to use this ocean blue. Hence why it's being used so much. Do I have a pencil sharpener here? I tend to have a pencil sharpener. And one of these things. But maybe not today. Of course not. So this is dark blue. What I'm going to do is this is dry up here. I'm going to go in and just underneath these storm clouds, I'm going to add a little bit more dark blue in and show you guys what happens. So I'm actually just coloring it in a little bit, giving it a little bit darker value underneath the cloud. I'm supposed to be live on Instagram right now. Oh well. Y'all should all be watching me here if you're on Instagram waiting for me. And so by doing this, I'm giving some more darker edges to the clouds. And I'm going to use a tiny brush just to activate these. Now you can use these pencils. Wow, this one has been used. Oh, you can use these pencils um, wet or dry. In this case, we're using them dry first, and then I'm going to take, this is a super duper tiny little brush, and I'm going to go in and just touch the water to these clouds, and it's just going to give me more of a fine edge and darken it up without having to go in with straight, just regular liquid watercolor. I'll touch this. And just touching it activates the watercolor pencil marks that I made. And then I can move it around a little bit more. Just barely touched. Put some here. And this is just going to give us some more defined line. More. I know I've been on here a long time, but watercolor kind of takes a little while. I think next month when we're doing plein air, I will work in watercolor. I have done that before when we were at the plein air event that we attend. And yeah, I did gouache this month, which I'm actually still working in gouache this month, just not on camera. You'll see the line is so much more defined. Clean my brushes. 1, 2, wipe it off. So I'm gonna basically call this one done for now. I think that's all I'm gonna do on it. It's a very simple, very oceany blue um, painting versus the green ones. So there's the difference in those. And this one has actual beach. So the color difference, the ocean is different colors all over. So you can get different looks just by changing the colors. So there's all 4 of the different color values that I've used. And this is all with the same watercolor set. So it's a lot of fun. So if you have ever tried watercolor, let me know. If you have any tips for me, always let me know. I love to learn something new every day. I am going to pull the tape because that's the most magical effect. And it's pretty dry. And I'm probably ripped the paper, but that's okay. Um, should have waited till it's dry, maybe. I think that this is the most fun. It's when you take the tape off. It's just like when you're painting your house and you take the tape off. It's just, and I always usually leave about a 1/4 inch gap off the edge of my watercolor paper, and that just gives me almost like a natural framing. So that is peeling the paper. It's not the highest quality paper, but it is watercolor paper. I'll bring this a little closer to you guys. So if you can see these little white dashes, that's all where the crayon was. And this is the piece. Yes, it's wavy, just like the ocean right now, but it will be flat when I'm done with it. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video of a watercolor tutorial. Very excited to be doing these every day this week. and I hope you guys are enjoying them as much as I am. And I'm going to end this one for now, but first, let's just do a quick peek at the lineup for this week. Let me put it up on the screen. Hopefully it's going to work. We will go to the other screen. Snap. No, I'm back. I'm right here. Tomorrow we're going to be doing shades of a color, and we're going to be doing pointillism. So that's always fun. So this is what we're doing tomorrow. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Zoom in for you guys. We did watercolor today. Tomorrow is pointillism with shades of color. It will be one color, so like monochromatic. So even this piece here, I actually did this with the kids. Um, this is all shades of green or values of green or tones of green. It's green. And as far as supplies for tomorrow, paper, small canvases, acrylic or tempera paint, Q-tips or paintbrushes, a cup of water, a paper plate, and of course, paper towels. That's all we'll be using as far as supplies. Thursday is needle felting. Friday is the big alcohol ink on glass. Saturday is going to be quilling on paper. Let me see if I can move this over. And then Sunday will be acrylics on canvas. So that is the lineup for the rest of the week. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the watercolors. And so this is, I'll put it up like this, hopefully. This is the painting. Yay! All done. So now it just needs to dry really well and I'll press it, make it flat, and I will insert a picture of this in the thumbnail later on today. So thanks so much for watching and we'll see you tomorrow for Pointillism with Shades of Color. So talk to y'all tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, bye-bye. Oh wait, don't forget, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe wherever my subscribe sign is. There it is. Don't forget to subscribe. Click, boop the bell, click the bell, ring the bell, do all the stuff, and you'll get notified when we go live every single day here on YouTube. Talk to y'all later. All right, bye bye for real this time. Okay, bye.